Hey everybody, it's Mike Swaney, Vice President of Growth Consulting at Intelligent Demand, and today I'm joined by Ben Marshall, our Creative Director at ID, and we're going to put Ben down on the hot seat today, and we're going to begin a series of video casts with our subject matter experts here at the agency, and looking forward to digging in with you today, Ben. So let's jump right in. First question. What do you think qualifies as great B2B creative?
It's a great question, Mike. It's a big question, but it's a good one. I would say what we believe qualifies as great B2B creative is creative that is human-centric, story-driven, bold, and what we call courageous creative here at ID. We know that the buyer's journey is long and complex and non-linear, and there's a lot of folks involved in it. So I think it's important to grab their attention, obviously, but in B2B, because that buying journey is so long and so complex, it is paramount to hold that attention through that journey and really deliver value all the way through.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. From an emotional standpoint, though, let's riff for a moment on that. When you think about emotion and bringing that into a B2B setting, I guess I'll lead the witness here. What we're talking about is we're talking to humans. As much as automation and AI are becoming a bigger and bigger part of the B2B verse, talk a little bit about why emotion is so important when you're talking to humans.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's critical. When it comes to having emotion and insights about our audience and understanding where they're at and connecting that personal investment that they have in the business challenge that they're facing, a lot of times that emotional aspect that the brand can deliver that they're looking for lies right in the middle there, and usually with a really interesting concept that can grab their attention.
Yeah, right on. Totally agree. Let's move on. So we've talked already a lot about the importance of great creative, emotional connections that it can make, but talk a little bit about what that process is like. I know it's not something that you can just, set it and forget it, but how do you go through that process of creating great, eye-catching, impactful creative?
Yeah, that's another great question. Our process for creating great creative is an integrated approach here at ID. We talk a lot about functional teams and integrated teams, and when we show up with our clients, a lot of times it's in an integrated fashion, and that's where we get to the best creative possible. So, I think it starts with understanding the business objective and understanding what it is that we're trying to solve for, where are we at in that growth play, and what type of even campaign and program are we tackling as a team, and making sure that everyone is very clear on that. I think starting with strategy. Before we dive into creative, starting with strategy is first and foremost the most important thing, and that's something that my team is really connected to in that integrated fashion that I was just talking about with our IGS folks and media and tech, and really kind of understanding what it is we're building from a program perspective, and what are the insights that we can draw out from the audience and who we're talking to really connect with them.
One of the things you said there that I love is that creative supports a growth program. It supports the objectives and the pieces and parts of that growth always at the forefront before we get started really on any program. Talk a little bit about how creative really supports and help deliver on those growth goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think understanding the goals of the program is paramount for every team, especially creative. So when we're looking at our entire revenue growth model, and understanding what is the audience, who is our target audience, what is the message, the value prop, and the position of their brand, and making sure that all of those core tenets that are specific to the creative team, as well as insights about the audience and how that's connecting into the larger growth program, is tying into what is the program that we're then building for the intended audience, and making sure that everything is synced up across each integrated play.
From an insight perspective, what are some of the ways that you're typically extracting insights from your audiences that you can put in play for a program?
Yeah, one of the major ways that we glean awesome insights about our customer is doing customer journey maps. We'll move through a customer journey map and interviewing an either prospect or existing customer, depending on the type of play that we're building, and moving through what are they thinking, feeling, and doing as they're moving through that purchase, either purchase decision or working or interacting with a brand. And that type of customer journey map really uncovers a ton of insights about what they're going through, thinking, feeling, and doing. And we can then build content pieces, strategies, entire programs and campaigns around some of those insights.
Next question, let's talk a little bit about some trends in B2B and what folks should be watching out for.
There is a ton of trends happening in B2B specifically right now that are really exciting for creative. And I'm happy to kind of riff on a lot of these because I think about it pretty often. I would say the first one top of mind right now is that there's a ton of B2C types of execution and strategy and creative that's making its way into B2B and has been for a long time, but we're starting to see it here at ID even in a bold way with a lot of our clients. One just kind of general example that I'm sure the audience resonates with is Salesforce and how they leverage characters with their brand to emotionally connect and storytell. We think about the Einstein character and how Salesforce has this ability to have insights about your sale and connecting that to a character, or the little bear, and knowing that they don't only leverage these in a digital sense, but also in a physical sense at maybe a trade show. Another example that I think is really exciting that I've noticed in just using Slack. We use Slack all the time here in our kind of internal operating model and how we communicate at ID. And they have the ability to, when you finish your notifications, they'll send you a little emoji with a message that says that you've finished you're all up to date with kind of some fun micro copy. And I think that idea of just injecting a little bit of personality and humor into a brand can go a long way, and I think that's Slack does that really well. But I think that can show up through all sorts of pieces of content, whether it's long form, short form, digital experiences that people are interacting with, even platforms and product.
Yeah, those are great examples. I go back to the Salesforce example with the characters. They've also created that as a piece of consistent art and consistent brand equity that they now own. They use it at Dreamforce all the time, and you're used to seeing those natural pieces and parts of their brand, which maybe don't necessarily connect. Like in your mind, it's like Salesforce, natural. Maybe not, but they've now made it such a part of who they are emotionally. You have that connection. The Slack example is fantastic. I hadn't really given that a lot of thought, but there are things that are maybe happening a little bit at the subconscious level sometimes when you see something like that. It's like, wow, I feel good about having this interaction with technology because it's rewarding. It's a piece of my day that's like, hey, I accomplished that, even if it's a little, to your point, a piece of micro copy, but it does create an affinity for the brand and help create that emotional connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think there's just so many aspects of that are making their way into the B2B space that are exciting. I think another one is leveraging the equity of celebrity. We know with one of our clients, Ping Identity has been using Terry Crews as sort of the spokesperson of a campaign that they've been running, and it's seen great results. And I think it allows for people to kind of stop and look at B2B in a sense that it doesn't have to be boring, and they can pull in names or celebrities or names or characters that relate to their brand and really pay off what it is they're delivering in terms of value.
Last couple of questions here, and we'll let you off the hot seat. Talk a little bit more about inspiration. Where do you find inspiration? How do you inspire your teams? Are there resources, books? Back in the day, and man, I grew up, in the paper business, working on the best canvas for designers ever. Is like you're designing paper promotions for designers. It was the coolest job ever right out of college. But we'd look at CA and HOW and print and all of those rags from back in the day. Where's that inspiration come from today?
Yeah, I can speak for myself personally and say that I think just being a conscious consumer of the world is a way that you can draw a lot of creative insights, and just paying attention to how humans interact. I almost equate it to stand-up comedy in a way. Like what makes a good joke and a good stand-up comic is someone who observes the world and kind of pulls out these universal human truths that we can all connect with. That in that case are funny. But I think when we do that and we look at that through our lens of B2B creative, I think it's observing the world around us and how people interact, how people buy, how people want to have a relationship with brands, and drawing on some of that into the work that we do. To give you some examples of where I look for inspiration and maybe books or podcasts and things that I pay attention to, or I know my team is constantly looking at, I'll give a shout out to Dave Gearhart for Exit 5 podcast is a fantastic one that I tune in regularly to. I would say the Debbie Millman has a ton of great books on design. She's someone that I'm often kind of picking up some of her writing and her kind of thinking in interviews. Those are probably the two that come top of mind.
That's great. Well, thanks very much, Ben, for letting us steal some of your day. Really appreciate it. Very insightful answers, and looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike. It's been great.
All right, everybody. Thanks very much. It's Mike Swaney and Ben Marshall with Intelligent Demand. Until next time, take care.